Good morning, America, and hello to the world. I'm having a really good hair day, but that's besides the point. So, we're going to talk about something very, very interesting today. Calculus. I tutor for calculus. And yeah, I like math, yes. All of you people wondering, but isn't she an English student, writing student, whatever? I like math. In fact, I fucking love it. And I'm actually good at it too. And I tutor calculus. And currently I have two regular students, one that comes in sometimes. They're all currently studying optimization. So, which means I'm currently studying optimization because of them. No, and I love it. I really love it. So here's something interesting, right? Here's how optimization works. And I'm going to make it possible for those of you who do not even grasp the concept of calculus to understand it, okay? Because it's actually not as difficult as one would expect. Most of the people that struggle with calculus, it's because either A, they don't understand what it is the question is looking for, B, they don't understand why the formula works the way it does, C, they forget the formula, or D, they remember the formula and fuck up the algebra. Yeah. I still remember on the last calculus test I took in high school, I got a fucking 99, and when I asked where I lost the point, it was because I missed a negative sign. Yeah, that was... But anyways, not the point. The point is this, right? If you have a line, any line, it has a slope. Slope is rate. Rate is rate of change, as in distance over time, right? For example, if you have y equals x, the slope is 1 because it's rise 1 over run 1. Every 1 unit of y, you have 1 unit of x, the same direction, positive direction, which is why the slope is 1. If it was y equals negative x, then it would be negative 1, and so on and so forth. But here's the thing, when you have a straight line, you can figure out the slope by taking 2 points on the line, and then you subtract their y values, and then you put that over the x values. So if I have y equals x, and I don't know what the slope is yet, I can calculate it by saying, okay, on the line y equals x, I have the point 0, 0, 0, and I have the point 1, 1. So 1 minus 0 is 1, 1 minus 0 is 1, 1 over 1 is 1. And so the slope is 1. Yeah, that's literally it. It's not as complicated as you would imagine. But here's the thing, right? How do you calculate slope for a curve? See, your first instinct is going to be take 2 points, subtract the y's, subtract the x's, put the y's over the x's, but that does not work. If you do that, what you get is called a secant line. And you would end up getting the slope for a secant line, which cuts 2 random points on the curve. But you're not going to get the slope of the actual curve, right? In order to get the slope of the actual curve, you don't want a line that cuts the curve. You want a line that touches 1 point on the curve. That's called a tangent line. How do you do that? So, well, it's like this. You take a derivative, right? In calculus, derivatives are basically you manipulate the original function in order to find another function, and that other function can be used to find the slope of the first function. So for example, if I had y equals x squared, my derivative is going to be 2x. Y and all of that, now that's like a whole lesson plan, right? You have to spend a day or two learning different formulas for taking derivatives and why they work and everything. But for now, we'll say if I have x squared, my derivative is 2x, which means that at any point on x squared, if I plug in the x value into x, that'll give me the slope. So if I have x squared and I said I want to find the slope at x equals 1, then I will plug in 1 in 2x, which will give me 2. So my slope is 2. Why am I telling you all of this? Why am I telling you about derivatives and calculus? Because there's this process called optimization, right? And in optimization, you use derivatives. Because when you find that first derivative, you can find out what the slope is, which means you know where the curve is increasing, decreasing, where the slope is stable, vertical, whatever's happening with the slope, right? And that means you can predict where the minimums and maximums on the curve are. So there's this whole process whereby you can use all those different properties and formulas and everything to find out, to solve problems such as where is my, what dimensions do I need to give myself the greatest area if I only have like 100 yards of fencing, right? Stuff like that. And that's the process of optimization. And why am I telling you about optimization? Well, here's the thing. It occurred to me while I was working on these problems and everything, helping these people with, their test prep, and you can optimize in math. You cannot optimize in life, right? If I tell you that the minimum value on x squared is always going to be the origin, or if I tell you that the maximum value on negative x squared is always going to be the origin, you have to believe me, it's the only option. But in real life, we don't have stable maximums and minimums. We can't predict them. There is no way. Sure, you'll say, well, stuff like astrology and horoscopes and everything like that. And if you're into that stuff and if you believe it, good for you. Me, I think it's fun sometimes. I don't think I consistently believe it all the time. I think once in a while I look at my horoscope on some random website and be like, oh, that kind of feels like today. And then once in a while I look at it and I'm like, that is definitely not today. So, it was interesting because last night one of my friends told me about something their dad told them recently. And the context of the situation was a little whack, but what he said, though, it resonated with me because my dad used to say the same thing since I was a little kid. He says, when you're doing something, you do it, right? You just do it. You do whatever you have to do, you need to do, you want to do. And then you let it go. Face the consequences, good or bad or whatever. And sometimes whatever your intended outcomes are might be very different from what actually happens, and that happens, and that's okay. You do what you have to do and then you let it go. There's really nothing else you can do. Specifically, he used to tell me that, well, if I was doing my math homework or any other homework, and if I was doing this into the middle of the night or whatever, he'd say, just finish it. Just do something. Give it your best. Don't break your brains. Give it your best. And then submit it and then relax, because there's literally nothing you can do after that point. It's in the teacher's hands. Let them grade it and then figure out what to do. And, it's interesting because he was right. You literally can't do anything beyond what you can do. You cannot predict the consequences of your actions. You literally never can. You can try, but you can't predict. You just can't. What you can do, though, is have an intent in mind, because that shows you've given your thoughts, you've given your actions some thought, which is better than nothing. Have an intent in mind, but also understand that intent might combust, and that's okay. That's okay. It's not on you. So now your question is going to be, Sammy, do you believe in fate? And I'm going to tell you, no, I don't. I really don't believe in fate. So then your follow-up question is going to be, but then what do you mean we're not in charge of the consequences and et cetera, and everything? How do those two ideas sync up? Well, that's a topic for another time. Have a great day. Bye.